literally one mosquito in my thigh on the way here.
Doesn't very like you,
I
man.
drove all the way home, no mosquito. I bet you it slipped in when I was, when I got home and I was getting out, or when we were going back out to the car. You know, and all of a sudden I went, oh, it's just, so Mom, it's 3 bites, by the way.
They've just been awful this year.
Hey, just, okay.
Went out to clean the pool and we got
You don't
3 of
hear the
them
afterbites.
instantly buzzing out.
Those mosquito bites?
Yeah.
All right.
They hate me.
That's good.
And they love it.
Yeah, that's a pretty large lag there.
What?
Pretty large lag there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's
There
more,
goes Charles walking.
better quality rather than less lag. There we go.
Lag-ish, yeah, exactly.
Like-ish, yeah. And then the people at home get to see window of windows. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're in week 3. You made it this far. Just kidding. I already said that. Okay, so we are now journeying into the world of intervals. Who can tell me what an interval is? Steve.
The space between notes.
The space between
2 notes.
2 notes, yes. It's implied that it's the space between 2 notes, but we want to be specific. So, the intervals we've looked at so far, can someone list some of them for me?
A whole step?
Thank you.
Half step.
Half step. And skip. So today we're going to look at the skip. The skip, we call it that, and we get that term from actually piano methodology. You learn about the skip in piano class, not in music theory class. It's because it's a vague term. On the piano it makes a lot of sense because you put the 2 notes together, C and an E, and there's a D that you're not playing. So you can visually see that. On a clarinet, it's not like that at all. It could be a pinky key that you're not pushing down. So a skip doesn't look like anything like what we're talking about. On a guitar, it looks a little more like a skip, but from one fret, skipping a fret to the next one is not a skip, it's a step. It's like going C, D, but in between is C sharp, C, C sharp, D, C, D. It looks like a skip, but it's only a step. So just to confirm, this is a piano term, is the skip. Okay? That's a piano term. So now we're going to make it specific. That's what this week is all about. We're making the piano term of the skip specific, and we're going to look at it in Haydn, and then we're going to compose with it. So if you turn the page, and you look at Unit 1, new intervals, I ask you to do a few things. First, I want you to write a whole step. Any whole step you want. Dealer's choice. There is a wrong answer. It is possible. My little die. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so write one in, and then I want you to write in write in a half step, and then write in a skip. So go ahead and do this first part on your own. While you're doing that, I'm going to switch back to this. Okay. So someone give me a whole step. Shout it out.
C to D.
C to D. Did you use middle C?
Yes.
Great.
Why not?
C, D.
No special place on the keyboard, right?
If that's right, it's my favorite place. It looks like a little planet too. Okay, someone give me a half step, someone new.
E to F.
You do.
E to F, great. E, F, fantastic. Okay, how about a skip?
D to F.
D to F. Great. Okay, so we've redefined what these things are. Okay. There are no questions, right? No questions so far?
Not so far.
Not so far? Okay. Is there only one type of skip? So
No.
that's the new question. So how many types of steps are there? There's two. There's a half step and there's the whole step. Okay, so that does imply that there's different skips. There's a whole skip and a half skip. Not real, but that's not what they're called. And that's why it gets confusing if you try to imagine a whole skip based on what you know about the whole step. So quickly write down the notes that these are. Write down the names of these notes. If you've done that already, excellent. I'll just do it here too. We've got C and E, and then over here D and F. These are two different skips. So now what I want you to do is, looking at the keyboard down here, kind of take your pencil and tap C, black key, D, black key, E, and then count that. Remember that where you start is not something you count. Oops, that looks like sharp.
Count 0, right?
Can you,
That's 0.
can
C.
you move it up, cause Nancy and I can't see
Oh
the
yeah.
piano.
I'll just move the piano.
Okay, that's fine too.
Believe it or not, moving the piano is easier than
Okay.
trying to reorient the board.
Charles, when I looked at it, I thought the fourth key in is the C.
Say that again, Neil?
I thought the fourth key in,
All right, so what do we do?
from the left going to right, I thought that was the C, the fourth one.
This one?
Yeah.
No. So here's 3 black keys. That's F.
Okay, so why did I think that was, I thought that was center C.
So they look similar, and we've kind of now taken a departure because I gave you the keyboard diagram before, but I always wrote in the notes, right?
Got it.
So now I've taken that away from you. So this is F here. So C is right here.
Okay,
Okay, so like I was saying, if you just tap on there, this C is 0 because we haven't left, right? We're going somewhere, but we haven't left. This is home. 0. Count with me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So how many half steps between C and E?
4.
4 H S half steps. And now D to F. Here we go. Here's D. It's 0, represents 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But that was 0, so I said 1 because
Yeah, you hit
I
it
got
right.
4 dice. 0, 1, 2,
3. There we go.
So D to F is
Yeah.
3 half steps. How can that be? They're all white keys, right? Why is this?
Because of that half step between E and F.
Exactly, because there's no black key here. There's no black key right here, right? Can you see why we don't have a black key here? Because then, not even Emil, no one would be able to figure out where the heck C or F was. If it was white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. You look at it
I'm
and
still
where,
struggling with this.
yeah. You'd be like, where is it? It doesn't
How would
exist.
you ever know? That's so cool, I never thought of that.
Yeah, it is cool. It's a visual thing.
Was
And
that done on
also-
purpose?
I'm sorry?
Was that done on purpose? or-
Yes,
Okay.
definitely, yeah. Yep. I mean, it's just like why clarinets are built the way they are. They have these pinky keys, these paddles, and they have them next to each other so that you can play quickly between them. And because, a clarinetist could explain it better, but they have them there for a reason. That's a functional reason, to make it easier to play certain notes. Okay, good to move on?
Uh-huh.
Great. So one of these skips is wider. It is the quote-unquote whole skip, which is not what we're going to call it, but it's wider. Which one is wider, C to E or D to F?
C to E.
Why?
There's 4 skips.
Four.
Because it's 4 half steps.
That's it.
Remember, our smallest unit is
Okay,
a half
okay,
step.
that's it.
It's like
Okay.
the inch. Okay, we've got 4 half steps. C to E is the wider skip. And now, like, in a second, I'll play this on the piano so you can hear what it sounds like if you don't know. But we're gonna now swap out the terms wider and narrower, or larger and smaller, with major and minor. And I showed you I got a little picture here of dogs. Someone in ancient Greece looked up in the sky and saw these 2 stars, and like, that's a small dog. And then saw this, like, 8 stars, that's the big dog. Okay, Canis Major, this is what I tell all my piano students. Canis Major and Canis Minor. Smaller, fewer stars. There's your astrological analogy for the day. You didn't ask for it. Okay, so now this is what we're going to switch it out. It's no longer going to be a skip. We're going to call it a third. Because if you think about it, it's 1, 2, 3. We go C, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, that's a third. That's it. Okay, you might be asking, but Charles, I thought C was 0. Because we haven't gone anywhere yet. Well, let's follow the logic for a second. C, D, E, that's 3, that's a third. C, D, that's a second. C is a first, not a 0. Why is it a first? Because you can have me and Kismet sing this same note, and that's called a unison. We're both saying the same note. It's technically 2 notes. We call it a first. But more commonly, we call it a unison. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Kinda.
Unison, second, third. So that's C, C and D, C and E. So then it follows, C and F is a 4th. C and G is a 5th, which I talked about on day 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you put your hand on that keyboard diagram at the beginning of the book, you can feel this too. There's 1 finger for each note, it's a 5th. And so one more is a 6th, 7th, and 8th, or octave. Okay? Questions?
Did you say G was the 5th then?
C to G is a 5th, yeah. A power chord. Okay, so fill in this info. You should know this now. Major third, larger, big dog. How many half steps?
4.
4.
That's right. Little dog,
3.
3. It's not a big difference, is it?
1.
Huh?
1.
Half.
1 half step. That's right. It's not a big difference. But it's the difference that makes this piece sound good because of this, because it's a minor third. Now just listen to this horrible piece I'm about to play.
Hey, Jude.
Oh.
Sounds like a Beatles song.
Yeah, it's still like
It does sound like a Beatles song. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's in Hey Jude. And then okay, so yeah, that sounds like a pop song, but it's so horrible, right?
Yeah.
Now Beethoven would hate it. That's Beethoven. Okay, that's Moonlight Sonata. It's a gotta minor third. It's very important. It's a gotta. Okay. It's only 1 half step, but it means the difference between a dark, somber piece and a really boring, trivial, happy sounding piece. So now let's identify them on the keyboard. We're back to the keyboard anal, and everybody, you've got a smiley face. Okay, I want you to draw a smiley face where it's a major third up. So I'll do the first one, right here. When I see your eyes, I know you're ready to move on to minor thirds. Yeah, okay, one, couple people, yes? Okay, so this note is what?
C.
C,
This note is
E.
So that's the one, that's our example, right? Okay, now here we've got G,
G.
and what's this?
B.
Yeah, remember G, A, B, and that's our major third, and then F,
F.
A, A.
and A. That's our major third. So I'll play these for you. The first one, C to E, and then G to B, and then F to A. And there's, if you can learn those three thirds right there, you've just mastered most pop songs.
So the second one sounded different. Is it just because the piano's slightly out of tune on the?
Well, the piano is not out of tune enough to make us think that it's a different interval. I'll tell you that. But there's a lot of research about music perception and cognition, and there must be some truth to understanding those intervals differently for different people, because in the ancient times of medieval and dark age music, they had three keys: the neutral or natural C major, they had the soft, which is F, and then the hard, which was G. And they called them that: soft, hard, natural. And they had implications too that went along with that. Hard was more like more peppy, exciting. F was more for sleeping. C was like anything goes. Okay? But since modern tuning has happened, these are supposed to be identical.
Right.
Yeah, but then there's other people feel music differently too. There's people that can see colors when they hear sounds. That's called synesthesia. They actually compulsively see a certain color, and it's always the same one.
Wow.
Scriabin is an example of a composer who saw colors, and he actually drew them out to show people what the colors were that he sees. A famous composer today, Michael Torke, sees colors, and he wrote a symphony called Green, and it's in G major because G major is green for him. Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
It's just a given that a skip is called the third. There's no association with why it's called the third.
The third is because it is 3 notes away. It's the distance of 3 notes.
Okay, but a major third is four
Half.
Yeah, but so there. So this is. It gets really confusing. We have the 2/3 because we have to break down our 12-note system. We have 12 notes from C to B. C, C sharp D, D sharp E, F, F sharp G, G sharp E. We have 12 notes. We have to break them down to something more manageable. And that's all based around the 7-note scale, which we've been learning, the C major scale. Which picks and chooses, right? It leaves out 5 notes, the 5 black keys, right?
Right.
So it's not a perfect system. It's not like looking at a tape measure or a ruler and saying we're skipping inch number 2.
Right.
That would make a lot of sense, right? You go 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
You skip 2. In this case, there's another ruler that's a different size above that one, and that's the black keys.
Okay, so 12 notes on the piano, that's why you have to have them more manageable, so you break them down into thirds, and that's why you have major and minor thirds.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you could imagine all the black keys were squished in between the white keys and became white keys, then we just have a sea of white keys, all the same width. It would look perfect, and you would go from one white key to the next, and it would sound like da-dum, da-dum, dum, like going up black, white, black, white, white, black, white. You know, it would sound like that, but it would look like all these white keys. But again, where the heck is C in this sea of white keys? You can't find it. So that's why it makes education a little harder, but it makes playing a lot easier. Yeah.
Okay.
Great question. Minor thirds, still going up. So watch out, the keyboard is a little different here, because we now aren't starting on C anymore. This note is F. That's F. Over here is C. So just watch out, I kind of shifted it over so you can make these minor thirds. And once I start seeing eyes, I'll have an idea of who's ready to move on. Eyes and ears, more or less ready to talk about it. So this note is
D.
G, and the minor third up is
Yeah.
F. Here, this note is
A.
A, yeah. Minor third up is,
C.
and then here,
B.
minor third up,
D.
G. You thought it was going to get tricky, but it's all just the same white keys, right? It's all white keys. I'm not going to make you label a black key. Hopefully, you followed the show your work method of going, okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. There's your minor third. Let me do it on all of these for a second so you can see what the process is. 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 half steps. 0, 1, 2, 3. Because you always got, there's almost always going to be a black key now that you have to account for. Does this all make sense? Yes? Anyone?
Well, yeah.
Well, okay, that's good. Okay, now there was one interval I did not make. I only did 6. What is it? Anybody know?
E to G.
E to G. And is it major or minor?
Minor.
How'd you know?
There's
So it's only
3 half
three
steps.
half steps.
3, that's right. E to G is 3 half steps. Let me play these for you. D to F. A to C. B to D. And E to G. Okay? There's my. Okay, now you get to write them on the staff. So take a few minutes. I'll do the first one. So you can see we're doing thirds going up and then identify if they're major or minor. So you just go ahead and write in a third. That's a big old note. That covers like 4 notes. Okay, here's the note. So then we have C and E. And then what you do, tell me if it's major or minor. Here's your shortcut. Instead of writing M-A-J-O-R, M-A-J-O-R, put a big M for major. Big M for major, little m for minor. See, one's bigger than the other. And then, this is actually how we label things in music, so save this. check your work on the first half.
Okay, I got a question.
Yep.
I was able to fill in the notes, I know what the step is, I'm struggling with whether it's a major or minor.
Yeah. So now what you gotta do is, a good strategy is to take that thing that Kismet has, which is the keyboard diagram, take that out. I don't have one, but you take that keyboard diagram out. Can I borrow yours, Kismet? And you can take your marker and then what you do is you say, okay, I know where C is. You put your C there, you put your E here, like that.
Okay?
And then you go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, you go backwards then. Okay.
No, we're still going up.
No, I understand,
Oh.
but I'm saying backwards from before we had the C and we counted three.
Oh, right, yeah.
Three steps are four steps, but now we know two E's and going back to see how many steps.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. How many half steps?
How many half steps?
Yeah,
So they're all thirds,
they're all thirds.
but some are only 3 half-step thirds and some are 4 half-step thirds, right?
Yes, exactly.
3 half steps in the minor, 4 half steps.
Yep.
Perfect, look at this.
So I can show you right here also, Emil. So like, let's shout me out a note.
D,
D?
D.
D. So here's D. And then I'm gonna just, you can still use that terminology of skip. Just say, okay, I'm skipping over, okay? And I'm gonna count 0, 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Minor.
So now you have to do that in your head. But you can have that in front of you and do it too. So like when I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of what an interval is, major or minor, I am visualizing the keyboard in my head. Because that's my reference point. And it honestly is for almost every musician, non-pianists included. Yeah. You have to have a reference point. Eventually you'll get to the point where you just see it on the page and you know what it is. And you can skip that visualization step. So right now you're at the physically doing it step, which is great. And then you can put that keyboard diagram away and it's now in your head. And then after that, you just see it on the page, minor third. Over time,
Got it.
not overnight. And now I'm confused why this. So here. Oh, cool. Each window has its own thing. Close. Okay.
Oh, but it took all your stuff off.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I kind of meant to.
Oh,
But okay, so then down here is bass clef. If you didn't get to that yet, save that for homework or something. Okay. And now our score analysis. So before I do this, any questions right now about thirds? Any questions at all? No, great. Okay. I think you all understand it perfectly. So I'll play this little symphony. We started with Bach, and then we had Mozart, and now this is Haydn, or as they call them, Papa Haydn, because he taught Beethoven and Mozart. It does.
That's
So
the
that,
surprise, right?
that's the surprise, yeah. Haydn is a great musical joker. Not just in this piece, but there are some really like next level music theory jokes that if you analyze and you get to the little kernel, you're like, haha, that's hilarious! And it's only funny to you. And Haydn. Okay, so after listening, we're gonna respond to the following. Circling the time signature. Circle a sharp note. I didn't go over that yet. This is one, in those math classes, I don't know if you remember from college math, but they'd always teach you the model, and they'd send you home with 100 problems that always seem to never have anything to do with the model. Well, I only gave you one, which is number 2. Circle a sharp note. Which one is the sharp note? You've probably heard the lore of the sharp. This is the sharp. There's 2. They're the same sharp. If you can identify what note it is, F sharp.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. We won't be working with sharps yet, but next week we will. Circle 2 B's. There's actually only 3 B's. And then box 8 skips. And then identify 3 major thirds with asterisks, 3 minor thirds with hearts.
8 skips?
8 skips, yes, there are 8 skips.
Sounds like a trick.
Oh. Thought box 8 was a
Oh. I guess this counts as 1. Oh, ah. You're very tricky, Charles.
Yes, there might be a skip between measures. There might actually be several skips between measures.
It's very tricky.
Box 8 skips, and then see if you can find 3 major thirds and 3 minor thirds. And they can be the same major third and the same minor third, just in another place in the song. Keep that in mind.
So an interval is either one note played after the other, or if you were playing chords, if you're playing two with a skip in 2 notes at the same time, a skip, right?
2 notes at the same time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I want to address that in more detail.
But can't have a sharp.
They can, but they don't in this example. So don't worry about that.
If you're in key other than C, that would be true.
So there's the.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be restricted by the key.
Okay.
Like this is an accidental, that means it happens occasionally at the,
Not by
at the,
accident.
not by accident, but this is an accidental, it happens when the composer intends it, but it's a departure from the key briefly. In this case, in classical music, it usually signals a departure from C major, or whatever key you're in. You could, yeah, so we could dig into this a little bit. So are we ready to talk about it a little bit? Okay. Ready? So we said it's the space between 2 notes is an interval, right? But I never said how long of a space, and I'm talking about time. If I got up this morning and I played this note, and then a week later I played this one, would I hear that as a minor third? Probably not. I'd hear it as a G, in a week. And the week prior I'd hear it just as an E. But because so much time has passed, I can't relate the two necessarily. Just like if you heard a car horn one day and then a train horn the other day, you wouldn't put them together and say, that's a major sixth, or whatever like that. Unless you're Mozart, probably, who has an index memory kind of thing where he could do that. So it's all about time, right? So I could play a C and then an E, and you could say that's a major third, because there's not too much time in between. I can play them at the same time, and that's still a major third. Does that make sense? So there's a major third like that. Think of it like a singer. You can't sing 2 notes at once, right? Except in that video I sent. Bum, bum, but you could sing them sequentially. It's still a major third. There's no hard and fast rule. Is it 24 hours? It's more like, does it really feel like they have a connection over time? And one of the cool things as a composer that you could do, and you can do in your composition assignment this week, is you can play with that concept. Does a third still sound like a third if it's stretched over the course of 4 measures? If it's 8 beats of this, and then a rest, and then 4 beats of that, does it still sound like? That's the composer's fun thing that you get to do. Okay, so this is easy. This is a major third. They happen at the same time. No way to debate this. That's one thing you can be sure of, and that does happen in the left hand, right here. So if you circled that as a major third or asterisked it, then you were correct. That is a major third. This is also a major third. This one happens horizontally because I'm moving forward in time. This is called a horizontal or melodic third. This is called a harmonic or vertical third, moves up and down. Let me use a different color. And then horizontal or melodic third moves mainly forward in time. But there's really cool musical examples of hearing the third backwards in time, which involves memory. And that's another music perception and cognition thing. It's like, I heard it, and then I'm like, oh, it's a major third, because I heard it later. Don't think about it too much. Don't think about it at all. Just like I said. But when you move in this direction, forward, these are all melodic. As soon as they happen, boom, at the same time, harmonic, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. Okay? There's still intervals, and in this case, they're the same interval. A major third and a major third. This is a wonderful example of that. This is a horrible little piano teaching piece for kids, but it has a great, all-encompassing example of the vertical and horizontal interval. Okay? A minor third, right here. See, E to G. Let's put apart. Anyone find this interesting? C, E, G has both major and minor. The light side and the dark side. Over here, this is just all what? It's all minor thirds. This is just the dark side. And you can hear it when it's out, especially when it's out of context. It sounds like something went wrong with your computer. Okay, those are all minor thirds. And then over here, sounds very, very perfect and interesting. But what's the distance in a major third? What's the interval? How many half steps? 4 half steps. And then in a minor third?
Three.
3. So total of 7. A fifth is 7 half steps. Congratulations. You just learned what a fifth is. Yep. Now, that's all it is. It's a compound of the two. You know, you can think of it that way. And then as soon as you reverse it, you do 3 half steps first, and then 4. So, and then 4. Then you have a new harmony, which is minor. But it's still made up of the same fifth. And remember, it's just 1 half step difference between a beautiful minor key piano sonata and a trivial, horrible little major key piece that he would shove in the bottom of the drawer and then set fire to. There are actual compositions of Beethoven's that he wanted not published, and there's a really funny one. I don't remember the opus number, but he wanted it not to see the light of day. But I think it was his grandson or nephew who brought it out into the world, and Beethoven would probably be very upset. My theory teacher played it, and it sounded pretty good, you know, because it's still Beethoven. And at the end of the theory teacher playing it, he's like, "Well, wasn't that just awful?" But it sounded like a great, like, little classical composition. And I don't think any of us could have found any fault in it. But Beethoven is, neurotic. Any questions? No? Okay, next week we're working. Yep.
So I had asked you that question about the sharp in the third, so what is it from the F sharp to the, where's that, is it a D?
C.
In the
Oh,
second
the F
one,
sharp?
yeah,
Here?
no, below, this
Here
one,
and
the next,
The
not
D?
the, yeah,
D.
yeah.
Yes, great. Let's all do this. Take out your keyboard diagram. Take out your keyboard diagram. Keyboard diagram. Got JK. Find F. F.
Yeah,
Sharp means up. Sharp means up. So now instead of F, it's this black key right here. This is F sharp. Okay? Now, you want to know where D, right?
yeah.
Is it the D that would be over here somewhere?
No, down.
It's this one. That's
Yes.
right. So we haven't done this direction yet, but it's the same
Sure.
from bottom up as it is from top down. So let's start on D. Here we go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. F sharp to D is
Major third.
Major.
a major third. That's right.
Okay,
Great.
awesome.
Yep. So if you circled that, that's another example of like of time coming into play. Let's just get out of here. Okay. Great. So this is there's a rest in between them, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
F sharp and then D. It still sounds like a third, even though there's time in between.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it still sounds like a major third. Right, Emil.
In the third measure, you circled the first 2 notes, which are Fs. And you said those were a minor third?
I'm sorry, I meant to circle these two. The,
Oh, okay, okay,
the second and third notes.
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
F
maybe
and
I
F.
did it wrong.
it's just repeated, yeah. So that could be a little hard right there. And then a little hard. Because minor sounds warm and fuzzy. Okay, then your composition activity is to write a piece with just major thirds, and then a piece with just minor thirds. Not in that order. Minor thirds first, then major thirds. If you want to get really creative, you can take the minor third composition and then rewrite it the same thing in major thirds, and see what it sounds like. And I'll play it for you. Does anyone have a composition that they would like me to play from last week, which was on the C scale?
Or Nancy does.
Roxana?
Nancy does.
Roxana has one, Nancy? Okay.
I have one.
You have one?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't I just collect them all? Oh, and I have assignments to return to you, but they're in my office, I have. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Okay, we'll start with Donna, on top here. It's in 3/4. Beautiful. It sounds like medieval. Sounds like it's in a mode rather than a scale because it ends on a D. I like it. I like the C scale too. Did you everyone hear it? It's descending. Great. Thanks, Donna. Okay. This one has lyrics. C scale. It's a blast. When only. Okay, I'm gonna sing an octave lower. With only white notes you can play it fast. Lovely. Lovely. I like it. So that's one portion. That's the other portion of the scale. Cool. Who is that?
That was mine.
Yours?
Yeah.
Nice. I like the lyrics. Okay, then Roxana. Oh, you've written something very fun. Okay. 4/4. Okay,
Try to
cool.
put as many.
That's good. There's 16 notes. Yeah, she's an overachiever. I don't know what she's trying to get out of that.
I'm trying to get you to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Emil, here we go. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Cool. Nice. I like the repetitive notes, or the repeated notes. And then Nancy. Lovely.
Very nice.
Very
Yeah, very creative. That's cool. You're writing in really good two-part writing. Like this is what I would teach if I were teaching contrapuntal music from like the 16th century. That's what we get to in week 3. So yeah, good stuff. I'll hand these back right now. Kismet, did you have one or not this time? That's okay. Everyone gets an A.
Easy it.
Yes, nice job. That last measure could go places, actually. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. Work on your compositions, and I'll see you next week.